in a blatant and desperate attempt to seem far more rational than they actually are, Christians and Muslims will often show you a list of famous scientists who believed in God, as if such minds are entirely on their side. For example, Galileo, Kepler, Newton, Faraday are all normally found on such lists, giants of science who all called themselves Christian. But all of them died long before the atomic age and the discovery of the God-confounding mechanisms of pure chance that rule all quantum reactions. They never heard of DNA, spectroscopy, redshift, stellar nucleosynthesis. They never heard of protons or neutrons or the laws that govern everything these particles can and cannot do. They never heard of radioactivity and the window this provides for measuring the ages of rocks and thereby our planet. Newton, living 400 years ago, may have believed, as many Christians and Muslims still believe today, that life cannot come from non-life. But that's only because nobody in the 1600s knew that our bodies are made entirely from non-life, in the form of atoms. Would Faraday or Kepler, who endorsed the biblical creation story, had their minds encountered the explanatory power of the DNA molecule, the data behind the rates and causes of genetic mutation, the vast timescales involved, not to mention the highly detailed mathematics and observations that underpin 21st century cosmology? We'll never know, but there's plenty of statistical evidence to suggest that in the information age at least, the more you know, the less likely you are to believe that the creator of the universe cares what you do with your sexual organs, or which direction you pray in, or even if you pray at all. In an attempt to make up for this embarrassing lack of modern scientists prepared to sign up to an even partially literal interpretation of any holy book, the Christians and Muslims, or affiliated sociopaths, will tell you about recent surveys where many modern scientists have gone on record as saying they believe in God. But this too is extremely deceptive. The scientists in these surveys are only asked if they believe in God, a question so vague as to have 6.5 billion meanings. If the survey asked them if they believed in hell or in a God who wants women to cover their hair, the ticks would become crosses and the believer would dismiss the survey as God-hating propaganda, when all that's really changed is the question asked. How many scientists in those surveys who put a tick in the God box don't really apply their science to their religion? How many of those on the list are physicists, amongst whom belief in a personal God is almost non-existent? How many are deists, who don't believe in a God who keeps the buses running on time? How many just tick the box to keep mum happy? How many other scientists, simply by ticking the God box, carelessly allowed their vague sense of spirituality to be confused by a religious nutjob as an expression of belief in their vengeful, mass-murdering, egomaniacal God? If we removed from the list all those scientists who don't believe in hell, I wonder how many names would remain. I think the long list would become a very short, very unimpressive one. Whatever such surveys say, only a tiny, microscopic proportion of qualified, reputable scientists believe in what the believer would call God. The fear-perpetuating religious bigot calls this breathtaking arrogance on the scientist's part. They call it pride, ignorance, denial,